would invite most people to answer. How has COVID impacted us? Most of the way that people respond to that question in life is the litany of negative impacts. Not a single one of you had that as the premise for your comment. And that's the same for the last two sessions. Everyone jumped on, it was as though there wasn't even, that wasn't a part of their filter. I mean, I think there was one in last week, but in all the sessions, the overwhelming response to that question has been how it has benefited us, which is ironic, but wonderful. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. Our minds are already going toward how does a negative thing challenge us to find blessing in it. So, great.
When given lemons, make lemonade.
Sure, sure. Hello. Are you waiting to set up? Because we're going to be another half hour. Oh, you join if you like. This is the pastor of the Spanish church.
Oh.
Carlos.
Oh, and he suddenly disappeared. Grab one of the chairs.
Hi. Hi.
Hold on, Carlos.
Nice to have you join us.
So the second question, and I'll read it exactly as I have it here. It's related to the first, but it's more specific. How do the things, the benefits and the discoveries and the ways that we've been impacted by COVID, how do they cooperate and reinforce our core values? Now, there's a supplemental question, or how do they collide and inflict our ability to pursue our core values? But you didn't present anything that would cooperate with that question. So we'll purely approach it from the first one. How does what you just talked about, the lessons that we've learned, the ways that we've found a benefit in having to be stretched, how do they promote these 5 core values? And when you want to comment, I'd ask you to comment on a specific core value. Yep.
So,
Can you see them?
yeah, I don't really have a specific one, but they all tie in together where I'm going with this.
Okay.
I don't think I mean, if we look at the view-wise, they've gone down. That's just numbers and everything, but where I want to take the church is making a, maybe like a Twitter account and really get a social network aspect to it. We were
Social media presence.
Social media.
Yep.
And I think that would be great, having it on live on Facebook, that would be great, with the internet coming in soon. And then having it on YouTube, just piggybacking, back and forth on our different accounts and whatnot, go check out the new service, and just promoting each post through that. And I think that that's a great idea. We spoke about that previously, and what I would like to, expand our views in a way on YouTube. And by the way, how that's done is, subscribe. You put that in the constant contact each week, I believe, and commenting, because YouTube creates an algorithm. So maybe, whenever you're watching at home, make sure, just drop a comment or just press the thumbs up button, because YouTube will create an algorithm and it'll post our videos in the recommended window, and other videos. And it'll really get our name out there.
And searches.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's all an algorithm, so that is crucial.
What Sean said about not getting as many likes, I know for my part, when I have not been coming, and even if I have come and I go back and I look, I'm not a person who will get liking the YouTube.
Sure.
But I think that in terms of fellowship and relationship, being able to watch the service recorded, that gives me a heads up as to who in our church community is in need of prayer and what has been happening, because we don't always, get to hear firsthand by not having that contact moment. So I think that's a benefit. Also, the notice that is sent out by email about what our upcoming sermon is going to be about, so that we have an opportunity to look ahead at a portion of the Bible. I find that that's a case of, again, integrating this 21st century into the worship and spiritual life.
From what you're saying,
All the best.
and our presence on YouTube is, maybe down the road, is create snippets of our services, kind of like SNL does,
Uh-huh.
Just, little, something that may happen in a service, that may be worth to watch a little, 5-minute video of
Yeah,
something.
and I want to do that with the
Baptism?
baptisms.
Oh, right, yeah.
The baptisms.
Yeah,
Post those on YouTube, which I want to do. And these, obviously.
And that's something nobody is doing. Again, not doing this, I'm just saying there is still a whole lot of anxiety about any kind of ritual that in their mind requires contact. So it truly is just about figuring out how to circumvent those obstacles.
It's been helping because I think a lot of people that are attending the services see the tension in their face go down when they see somebody familiar in church. Either like the story Cherie and Beth were talking about. That level of acknowledgement during these stressful times is a stress relief. Okay, so you are basing your betterment on the foundation of your relationships. Okay, and a lot of the relationships through church are the spiritual life that we're sharing together. Okay, I'm doing a different activity that we've been active since July, following the rules. And it's been reinforcing a sense of community with our common beliefs. So that level of fellowship has been real important in building relationships.
Okay.
And maintaining them has been good.
About the YouTube, people that can't attend. Now, Bill Bergman, he lost his wife and he's not able to come to church. And I communicate with him by email and phone, and we talk almost every Sunday, talking about the service. He is so grateful because he can't come out. And it just works wonderful for him. And I think that is a great opportunity for people that can't come out.
I've been sitting here and I have this thought in my head, and maybe you can help me make it grow. I think we have a lot on YouTube views because people aren't going out, so they're looking for stuff on YouTube. So how did we get it out that we're on YouTube? I think it was on Facebook, and it was shared on Facebook. Okay, my next question is, once things go back, how do we get these people that are watching us on YouTube then to come into the church and be part of the community? So I think this is the time where we should be growing our online viewing. Then hopefully it'll filter into the church. Some people want to be here in person, some people won't be. Am I making sense?
And can we identify the people who are
Well,
watching?
I'm not computer.
Can we identify the people who are watching?
I just said I'm not computer,
Yeah.
so I don't know, but. And
So-
then the other thing is to figure out how to get them to be able to send donations into the church too, via the internet. Because there's probably people that would do it.
I don't
So
think that's a new avenue, though.
There are people that do that.
They do that all the time.
We are, not a lot, but we do have people who give,
Okay,
who are watching the videos, who are not a part of our
Okay.
community. They're not in our
That's exciting.
directory, but it's not many. What I think the beginning, a more comprehensive beginning of the answer to your question is something that I've talked to Sean about, which is once we really find our groove here to where it takes less and less prep time,
Right.
to begin to create other social media platforms that we can start communicating through. Having a Twitter account, having an Instagram account where we can throw pictures up, stills of worship that are going up there. What they do, especially if we are also giving a prompt, like in the YouTube video, inviting them, the people that are watching that are not able to come, to throw our information onto their Twitter account and just send it out. Like, hey, I attended virtual worship at Pilgrim Church in Leominster, and they throw that on their Twitter. Well, you know, it's kind of like, you know, they
Yeah.
tell two friends and they
Yeah.
tell two
Yeah.
friends. Twitter has an ability to exponentially send information in a split second. So we're talking about how to explore that. Once we're confident enough that every week what we're giving is worth sending a tweet. Last week was the very first week that we finally had our sound sent directly through the soundboard. It totally changed the quality of the video.
Cool.
But that was the very first time. I want a sequence of weeks and a couple of months of elevated quality before we start exponentially marketing what we're doing, so that there's a consistency of quality. But we're already having those conversations, and I do think it starts with a social media presence that we build. Facebook it's being used more and more for advertisements and political arenas, and it's used less and less by the populations that we're wanting to reach. Nobody under 30 is on Facebook anymore, for instance. Nobody. They're abandoning even their Instagram, and they're going to other platforms. So, anyway, but your point's well taken. I'm going to shut up. Who else has some thoughts?
The struggle that I see, you know, the flip side to this, when we talk about the fellowship, and I think that's a wonderful thing, Jackie, with Bill Bergman, probably one of my
He's a very dear
favorite
friend.
people and
Very dear friend of mine.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's just a wonderful man. And shame on me for not reaching out to more people, but I want to say this, if this, and I hate to use this word, but I'm going to say it, I hate not seeing everybody after church. It's so, you know, we have to leave, and yeah, you get to see one or two people but you don't get to mingle, and we don't do that. I think that is such a challenge to us. And from, the one thing I would like to say, somebody mentioned about, you know, when we had, on Saturday mornings, breakfast, the Saturday morning breakfast, right? We don't do that anymore. But there's a church, and I think it's St. John's in Worcester, that even now, they're serving like 200 people a week. And I don't know how they're doing it, you know, I don't know. But I'll say, it would be just a wonderful thing if somehow we could, even if we boxed it up, you know what I mean?
Friends of mine in Andover, that's exactly what they are doing. They're boxing up, and people are driving up to areas and picking up their lunch program.
Mm.
They do a lunch program, and that's what they're doing, is they're boxing up the food for the people, and they're able to pick it up, like a drive up through. You know, and
Yeah, I mean,
that's working for them.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's the only way it could be facilitated, to not, you know, break state law, but it would be similar to restaurants who, before they were allowed to open, they could still provide takeout. It would be a takeout ministry, basically.
We talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been part of the Daily Bread and just the fellowship between the workers and then the people that come. It's just really something that's wonderful to witness. And I was trying to think about other ways to just to take care of people that we might not be able to do that, and maybe, you know, just have like to donate to like a DoorDash fund, or to, you know, to get gift certificates, or, you know, something for restaurants, or, you know, ways to try to minister to people and to take care of them, if we can't manage something like that. I don't really know exactly how to execute what I'm talking about, but when I think about, you know, if there's a way we can do this, maybe there's a way we can do it by, you know, just having a church fund or mechanism for feeding people and providing some meals for them. It's just one thing I was wondering about.
Welcoming environment is impacted because we filter in and we filter out, and we don't have a lot of welcoming time. Or, you know, I think that's a big one. We talked about community outreach, worship and spiritual life. It continues to evolve. And, well, the friendships and relations, we have them, but we're not getting new ones because we don't have the time. I think we've come into the 21st century a bit more through the music and not doing the traditional things that we might have done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, the worship spiritual life part, I believe I'm speaking for the both of us. When this occurred, when the COVID came around, we weren't sure what was going to happen as far as the worship and the spiritual part. And I will commend you and Dan for what you did as far as, and also Sean, as far as on the, what is that they came on?
Eventually Facebook, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Eventually Facebook.
You did a great job. And I understand that's continuing. I prefer, as I do, come and want to see it in person. But I think our worship and spiritual life has increased because of COVID.
Talk about that. How so? How has it increased for you?
For me as a person, I think it's gotten myself closer to my church.
Okay.
Because I don't take it for granted as much as I used to.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it. I never realized how wonderful it could be. Now you heard from the thorns.
I did.
Well, another half of the thorns here.
Well, but one of them.
Yes.
Now it's the other
Talk
one.
to us, Karen.
You know, COVID, I think it really stripped everything back to the basics for us. And say, what's most important? And, you know, really, you know, not just me personally, but you look at our service, stripping it back to really the key things, you know, God's word and the message. And then we can grow from there as to how, you know, we had to adapt and get that right. And now we can grow from there and get that message out into the world. We had to get that right ourselves, is what you're talking about. And I see that, and looking into how I like the music change. It had a variety of music. It was great when we went a couple weeks ago to my niece's confirmation, and they had the same
One of the songs?
one of the songs that you introduced early on.
Yeah.
Good Father.
Oh, nice.
And they started out that. Oh, I know that. It was great. It was great though that they were meeting outside. They did have a printed bulletin that they handed out, so we had the written words there. It was, and I was like, oh, yeah. So I could take that home.
Nice.
So I kind of still miss having that, but I like having, as my mother said, having the scripture and the words up there. So sometimes the take home, because you forget who's the shut in. It's like you want to. It's that other piece. But I like that we've kind of come back to our focus.
That we're not able
Not able to high five each other? Sure.
and have people
Yeah.
and sit next to people and tell them what you've been doing over the weekend.
And why is that, all of what you just said, all those things, why is that important for you? And why is it important to people?
Because some people have friends at church and they want to tell their friends what they've been doing over the weekend.
Because we make friendships in church. Yeah, sure.
Could you repeat which?
I am repeating, yeah, she
Okay.
said, because we have friends in church and we are able to see them and talk with them and
Okay.
she said high five them and hug them, and it feels a lot different when you can't do that. You know, if this went on another year, Concord Supplies, which is a church supply thing, will probably come out with bubble suits so that people can actually hug. I mean, we gotta figure it out somehow, right?
Yeah.
I love the noted, the notation that comes across my phone of what's going to be next for the church service, and then you put in.
The midweek
Yes.
things, email, yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm getting contacts from Pottery Barn and everybody else, why not Pilgrim Church? I think that's cool.
Yeah.
And for those in the college area or those shut-ins, or like my mother, who likes to take out her Bible and continue reading and augmenting about a verse, I think that would be advantageous. And that would, continue to draw in people who would then tune in for the next segment, because we've got some background, we've got some background study. But I like the services now, they're clean, they're astute, they apply to me, and it's something that I can take into the next week. So that might be the next step that we do, is to augment on what we've learned this Sunday and take us into the next Sunday.
I'm still trying to brainstorm how to accomplish that and expanding our presence, because it kind of seems a little lame, Derek saying or Dan saying during the service, oh, make sure you like and subscribe, to our videos. But I'm trying to figure out a way, maybe I can, just have a pop-up in the video, reminding
Yeah, and at
everyone
the
at
end.
home.
At the end of the video.
At the end.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Is there a way we could have, we could play bells again, and maybe not during the service, but record it and fill it in, or?
So I'm already in conversation with Karen Thorne on having the bells for the hanging of the green service, because Dan and I have figured out how we can have the hanging of the green service. It's going to be, to borrow the term from the educational community, it's too bad that's not here, it's going to be a hybrid of live stuff happening and cast on video, pre-recorded aspects of the hanging of the greens that require people to be too close to each other, that can only be done by people that have quarantined together. So we're doing that. We've already got that on the calendar. We'll be recording right after church on November 22nd, the elements that can't be done live. But the bell, given them 3 different options: pre-record, do it live with a couple people, or do it live and process 6 feet apart if they are that game and comfortable doing with that. So she's still in conversation with, I even just asked her this morning, what's the update? She goes, I'm still trying to make it happen. So at the very least, we'll have some type of recorded version for that. But we're trying to make it a live component. So, but you're right. We are trying to wrestle with all of these things in a way that recovers as much of our in-person church life as possible and gives it a new, fresh breath of air.
So there will be things we're adjusting to. I think a lot of COVID's helped. I think COVID for here, with being New Englanders being typically way conservative, has opened up a lot of people's minds, hey, we gotta try something else. Everybody said we have to try something, where in the past was, oh, we gotta do something. So everybody's spiritual spirit or enthusiasm has gone up a little bit because of COVID-19.
Agree.
Yeah, we're all more willing to brainstorm.
I think that in times like this, COVID obviously being with us for the last 7, 8 months on a thing, you think back, go way back to 2001 when 9/11 hit, that when you have something like that, I think people start to turn more to God. I know back in 9/11, we didn't have the social distancing on the thing, and we were not the church, but there were a lot more people there. And if we do with this, if people maybe are sitting on the fence, not really church goes on a thing, they get that feeling from inside on a thing that, hey, there's something a little bigger than me here. We're out there. They can see us virtually on the thing, and I think that might turn a few people and say, hey, look what this church is doing. We'll tune in, maybe we'll go on a Sunday and, see it live, see what's going on. I hope that it does.
It's interesting that the Sim family, they had been talking to Dan and I about baptism. Wasn't it before the first of the year? Wasn't it in December when they first met with us? And then we just kind of tipped around on, well, this weekend won't work because I'm on vacation, he's on vacation, and then, so let's lock it in for some time in March. And then, of course, they, as well as the Dubinetsky family, decided this was the choice moment to do it. It wasn't, let's just get it out of the way. It wasn't, well, there's not going to be any good time, so let's just hurry up. It was, we want this to happen now. Is there a way we can do it? We want to join a church now. Is there a way to do it? So people are like, some people are actually saying, even if there is a wall in front of me, where's the hammer so I can start knocking it down, because I want my spiritual life back. There's a verse, there's not a whole lot of people that teach on it or preach on it, because it's one of those ones that's hard to kind of get at what Jesus was talking about. He said, the kingdom of God suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. There's a lot of historic stuff, references in that phrase, and there's context around that verse as to what he was using that as an analogy. He was using what was happening in the moment as an analogy for something that he wanted to talk about. But one way of interpreting that verse, and I think a very valid way to interpret that verse, and basically what he said was, if you want what I am offering you, and what God sent me to offer you, you might just have to fight for it. It might have to become spiritually violent. You might have to start knocking down walls and pushing your way, forcing your way into the thing that you want to get. And there are several ways of looking at that verse. I'm not suggesting that's the only one, but that's what COVID world has made me feel like as a pastor. I can stay within this box and without a whole lot of effort give an apologetic or a defense for why it's best to stay inside of this, even though staying inside means we don't get the majority of what we need out of church. Or we can look for the hammers and the chisels, and we start aggressively, to borrow the word, violently knocking those walls down, because these things are more important than just feeling okay.